True Blue Nation, Dodgers Report.
Host, bringing you the inside scoop and the deepest analysis you can't find anywhere else. Before we dive into the bombshell news that is shaping our postseason run, I need you to do one thing for me. If you value straight-to-the-point, no-nonsense analysis and want to stay one step ahead of the news, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Become part of the nation that bleeds blue. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming. Let's get straight to it. The news that dropped like a bomb behind the scenes at Dodger Stadium and fundamentally changes the configuration of our bullpen for October is the confirmation that Brock Stewart is out for the rest of the season. He will undergo shoulder surgery, ending a return that was, at best, underwhelming and, at worst, a reflection of a risky strategy by our front office. General Manager Brandon Gomes went public with the official statement saying, "We had a lot of conversations with Brock, and he said, hey, I want to help this team win in any way possible. But in watching him pitch and just having conversations with him, there was still something that was just nagging him. As much as we'd love to have him right now, we don't want to put his long-term health at risk." It's the correct statement from a human and organizational standpoint, protecting the asset and the player. However, for us fans, who live and breathe every pitch, the reality is harsher. The acquisition of Brock Stewart at the trade deadline was Andrew Friedman's answer to one of the worst bullpens in Major League Baseball. While our direct rivals in the title race, like the Padres, added an electric arm like Mason Miller, and the Phillies reinforced their arsenal with someone of Juan Duran's caliber, the Dodgers, with the richest farm system in the sport, decided to shop on the dollar menu. This was the gamble. Bring in an arm with a recent track record of success, but also with an even longer and more concerning injury history. Stewart missed 3 months last season with the Twins due to right shoulder tendonitis and subsequently underwent arthroscopic surgery. This year, he had barely pitched since the beginning of August, and even in his brief rehab appearances, the results were alarming. 4 runs allowed in just over 2 innings. The hope was that he could replicate the form that saw him post a .263 ERA with the Twins, but the reality is that he contributed next to nothing to this team, giving up 2 runs in just 3.2 innings of work since putting on the Dodger blue uniform. What this situation exposes is a front office philosophy that can be both brilliant and incredibly frustrating. They refuse to pay the inflated prices of the trade deadline, believing they can find solutions internally or through low-cost acquisitions. They look at the menu, and while other teams order the filet mignon, the Dodgers look for the best value, trusting their player development and data analytics to turn water into wine. The question is that strategy sustainable when you have a roster with Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman in their prime years? We're talking about a championship window that is wide open, and the inaction in aggressively strengthening the team's weakest area could be what slams it shut prematurely. The bullpen has been our Achilles heel, and the only external solution we brought in is now on the operating table. If, in October, we see a postseason game slip through our fingers in the late innings, all eyes will turn back to this decision not to acquire a David Bednar, a Ryan Helsley, or any other elite name that was available. They had the prospects. They had the resources. They simply chose not to use them. A bet that now rests entirely on the shoulders of the arms already in-house. Now, with the Brock Stewart news serving as a bucket of cold water, it's easy to fall into pessimism. However, what I've seen on the field in the last few games gives me a glimmer of hope, a glimpse of the front office's Plan B in full execution. If the strategy was to rely on internal talent, then we are beginning to see the fruits of that forced bet. And the name that needs to be at the top of everyone's list is Will Klein. What Klein has been doing in recent weeks isn't just encouraging, it's potentially transformative for our bullpen. He's no longer just an arm coming up from AAA. He's proving to be a legitimate multi-inning weapon. We saw this clearly when he came in at the end of the 4th inning, dominated with a 1-2-3 frame, and then came back out for the 5th and continued the job. His analytical data, the famous Stuff Plus, is elite. His fastball touches 98 miles per hour, and his secondary arsenal, the curveball, sweeper, and cutter, are all graded as above average. In a postseason, where every matchup is crucial, having a pitcher who can come in, dominate for 2 innings, and shorten the game for our late-game arms like Evan Phillips is a luxury we didn't have a few months ago. Klein needs to have a guaranteed spot on the October roster. There is no debate. Beyond Klein, the team's defensive resilience has shown why we are still a force to be feared. Andy Page's play in center field was a perfect example. With a runner on third base ready to tag up on a fly ball, Pages made the catch and, without hesitation, fired an absolute missile to third base to nail the runner trying to advance. It was a cannon, a Gold Glove caliber play that electrified the stadium and suffocated the opponent's momentum. It's that kind of defensive execution that wins championships. It shows that even when the pitching falters, as we saw with Emmett Sheehan, having a shaky start with wild pitches and defensive miscues around him, the team has the ability to recover and make spectacular plays to limit the damage. The conversion of starting pitchers like Sheehan and potentially others into bullpen roles is the other facet of this internal strategy. There aren't many teams that can afford to take rotation-level talent and use them as high-impact weapons in relief situations. It's a testament to the incredible depth this organization has built. Therefore, the situation is clear. The loss of Stewart forces the Dodgers' hand, removing the safety net. Success or failure in October now depends directly on the ability of these young talents, like Will Klein, and the converted veterans, like Sheehan, to perform on baseball's biggest stage. The front office's bet wasn't on Brock Stewart. The bet was on the depth and talent they've cultivated for years. Now we're about to find out if that bet will pay off with a World Series ring. Here's the bottom line. Brock Stewart's injury exposes the Dodgers' high-risk, high-reward front office strategy. They avoided trading top prospects for an elite reliever, betting that internal solutions like Will Klein and the depth of their starting pitchers would be enough. Now, there is no more room for error. Blue Crew, I want to hear from you. Do you trust this approach? Does the emergence of Will Klein and the roster's depth justify the decision not to make a blockbuster trade for a top bullpen arm at the deadline? Drop your comments below. For detailed analysis like this and the fastest news on the Dodgers, make sure you are subscribed to True Blue Nation, Dodgers Report. Together, we'll follow every step of this journey to October.